Hi, I wanted to do something a little different today. Um, it's been really rainy in my area, but it's finally let up and we have some nice weather. So I wanted to fix up my bike for the spring season and get out for a ride for the first ride of the year. And I thought while I was out here, because I'm kind of getting back into it and I want to take a break, I thought it would be cool to bring a set of socks along with me and knit a sock while I take my break. So that's what we're going to do today. I live in the Harper's Ferry area, and near to the Harper's Ferry area, of course, is the C&O Canal, which used to be a canal where tow, um, they would canal materials up and down the river in the canal. But for some time now, it's actually a bike path. So you can actually ride, I think it's 184.5 miles from Georgetown in Washington, D.C. to Cumberland, Maryland, um, which I have done several times. Um, that's not what we're doing today. We're just out for a little bit of a ride. For anybody who's interested, this is my bike. It's a Trek 520, which is a touring bicycle, which um, when I'm riding, which hasn't been much lately the last couple years to be honest, a lot of the time when I ride, I like to bike tour actually. I'll load up all of my stuff on my bike. There's usually a rear rack on here, but it's not on there at the moment. But I'll load up all my stuff and I'll go camping and I'll travel from one place to another kind of at my own pace. It's pretty cool. As you can see, everything's real gross because the path is gravel and it's really muddy because we've been getting a lot of rain. So my gears are absolutely filthy. Imagine what everything would look like if I didn't have mud guards on. Actually, this is the first time I've worn socks that aren't my own hand knit socks in quite some time. I like to cover up everything as much as possible because, for one, the canal grit and mud gets everywhere, but also I don't want to burn and I kind of hate wearing sunscreen, so I'm just gonna cover up as much as possible. I forgot to mention, a lot of the stuff I have for my bike is actually something I've made myself. I made a number of these bungee cords to fit different things, and I just kind of have them clipped on with these little clips I got that kind of hook onto some ties I put on there, and that means I can easily take it on and off. I really like this Velcro stuff. I think it's a Velcro product. It's called One Wrap, I think, and this stuff is great for bikes. But I made this little bag to put stuff in. I like to keep my phone and like a knife and chapstick and glasses cleaners in there. But yeah, here's one of the ones that I'm really proud of. I made these bags. Actually, I think this canvas was leftover canvas from painting canvas making. I couldn't remember at the time what it was, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And it's held up mostly really well. I waxed it with beeswax and lined it in some places with just whatever synthetic stuff. And it hooks on. Whoa, where goes my bike? It hooks on real easily with these bungee cables, and I just kind of hook it on like that. And that's what I like to do with those. I kind of like put regular grab stuff in here, like that I might want to grab frequently, like a raincoat. And the other side tends to be like my toolbox, so I keep all my bike repair stuff that I want on the road in there for safety. That way, if something happens, which it does sometimes, I can repair on the go. So that's pretty cool. If you like bike stuff or bike touring stuff or things in this area, you might be interested in a video that I made some time ago with my friend on our video game channel that is just kind of sitting right now. Basically, it's just a trip the two of us took to DC to see the cherry blossoms, and it shows my full bike setup, which largely hasn't changed. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll put a link to that so you can watch that video if you like. Here's one of my favorite pieces of equipment on my bike. It's this cool little two-legged chair that I can fold up and take places and have a little seat on a nice chair while I'm out on a bike ride. They don't make these anymore. I think this company went out of business in like 2020 or whatever. But the chair's mostly holding up okay, so I really like this little guy. I put my yarn and my needles and everything in this dry bag just in case, because I know how absolutely disgusting it can get out here. But it looks like maybe it's overkill because there's not a speck of mud on here. But just the same, it's better to be safe than sorry, I guess. So let's open that up and get started knitting. Here's what I'm working on today. It's a sock. I actually didn't bring the other sock with me, but I'm working with the Croy sock yarn in the, I think it's called the Clover color. As you can maybe see, there are 2 balls of yarn in here, because the way that the Croy sock yarns are made for the effects ones is that it's multiple colors in different plies, and so as the strand changes, the color shifts, so therefore you can end up buying yarn with huge color differences in it. So what I thought I would do this time is start with 2 different colors and do stripes with them, so that the color shift would happen in a more distinct, interesting way. So that's kind of the plan with this one. I feel like I come on here and I talk about socks a lot, and I guess that's fair because I do really like knitting socks. But that is kind of what's on my mind lately. We're going to be doing a knit along this month, for the next couple months actually, with my guild for knitting toe-up socks. So I've been doing a bunch of researching, reasons as to why you would want to knit a toe-up sock versus a cuff-down sock. And I feel like I've talked about this before, but I've actually found a lot more reasons as to why you would want to do one or the other, largely to do with the equipment that you're using. And I've been experimenting with new techniques and new equipment, and it's been a pretty cool opportunity because I feel like I'm just going to find more things that I like doing versus don't like doing. I'm just going to keep getting better at making things that I like. I'm kind of hoping at the end of the knit along that we're doing that I will have collected a lot more information, especially working with a lot of other people who are also doing the same thing, about what works versus what doesn't, little tricks and tips. I don't know, maybe we'll kind of collect all that information together and make something out of it. I think that'd be cool. But here's the sock pattern that I found that I thought would be a good pattern to pass along to other people who had never done it before. I still kind of prefer to think of socks as like a recipe or a formula rather than following a strict pattern. That's generally like how I like to make things anyway, especially if you find that you have some reason to modify a pattern. Socks are so simple. You just kind of pick and choose pieces and forms of construction that you like. Just kind of stick them together and probably end up changing it and tweaking it the next time because the first time is never quite exactly perfect. Oh, that's something that's on my mind lately. I feel like I don't really have a lot to talk about as far as what I've been knitting. Since the last time I made a video, I decided to start an entirely new, different sweater, which I was not really expecting to, but that's really largely what I've been working on. I just finished it last week. It's not really all that exciting. It's basically just another version of the sweater I've already made 2 other times. Obviously, I'm not wearing it, being out on the trail, but maybe I'll insert a photo of it or something. I finished a pair of socks I was working on. I don't know, it's just not been all that exciting. as part of the spinning meetups with the Guild, we've been doing a lot of fundamental techniques for spinning, and the last meetup and the next couple of months, the theme is to take all of these techniques and ideas and make a full-size skein of yarn using all of these various things we've been working on, but also the idea is to use up this huge amount of fiber that the study group leader has been keeping in her stash that belongs to the Guild. It's a ton of fiber, and she just kind of wants to use it up. So I've been working on some ideas with that, and I feel like I've made some cool things. I am doing my part to use up the fiber. So that's kind of, I guess, more what I've been working on. There's been some interesting new developments for that sweater spin I've been talking about for a little while. I've been spinning yarn with my double drive Ashford Traditional for a while now. It turns out if you're going to make a full sweater's amount of a 4-ply yarn, you're going to be doing a lot of spinning singles. So I bought a high-speed whirl to kind of speed things along because it felt like it needed to be a faster speed for the thickness I was spinning at. So I did buy the whirl, and it acts weird. I don't remember if I talked about this last time or not, but it's like in the middle, the first two speeds, it behaves kind of like it's supposed to, but at the fastest speed, it wants to wind on the opposite direction, and also it it yanks on the yarn. It doesn't have a smooth, even feed like it's supposed to. I've been kind of going back and forth with an Ashford representative for a while, only to find a post in a Facebook post, in the spinning Facebook group, where somebody had a custom bobbin made, I think, for an antique spinning wheel, but the bobbin whirl for this double drive was too big, and it turns out the bobbin whirl needs to be smaller than the whirl on the machine whirl, I guess, the other part of it. So if it's bigger, you have problems. And it turns out that was exactly my problem. So it wasn't listed anymore. Now I think that it is. They said that it would be updated, but it turns out that if you're going to use the high-speed whirl for an Ashford product, you actually have to purchase the high-speed bobbins if you're going to use the fastest speed. So that's not what I have, and that's why I was having weird problems. It means that I'm probably going to have to buy a whole bunch of bobbins to use that machine for when I want to go fast, and I'm kind of bummed about it, but at least I kind of feel validated as to what I was experiencing, I guess. It wasn't like, I don't know, that the band was too loose or whatever. It's just that my bobbins were the wrong bobbins. So that's kind of a bummer, but that is an update, I guess, as far as like fiber stuff goes. I think World Knit in Public Day is coming up, which is funny to me because I knit in public just all the time. I guess it's something that other people don't necessarily do. I take knitting with me pretty much everywhere I go. I have a basket that I carry around. These days, I kind of don't even really want to carry around my gigantic purse because I want to carry a small purse so I can carry a gigantic basket full of knitting. Socks are perfect for traveling and knitting like wherever. I just love having something with me. So if I'm sitting in line waiting for something, I am going to be knitting on a sock. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing for World Knit in Public Day. I believe the Guild has an activity happening at, I think it's called Sweet Run Park. It's just in that little sliver of Virginia between the Maryland side and then the West Virginia part where I am, so the Harpers Ferry area. We're going to be doing some sort of just hanging out and knitting in the park, I think. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. Last year, I think there was some sort of local events at a brewery, and I was really bummed that I missed it because that sounds kind of perfect. Knitting at a brewery sounds like kind of the best, aside from knitting in a coffee shop, which is also the best. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for World Knit in Public Day, but I would be curious what you are planning on doing if you're going to do something special in the World in Public. Knit in Public. World Knit in Public Day. I used to spend a lot of time out here. I found cycling again in the beginning of 2019. Which was really fun because I discovered bicycle touring, also sometimes known as bike packing, in the fall of 2019, which means I got one good bike trip done before 2020 happened. I spent a lot of time out here specifically on the canal because it's so close to me. It was really great in 2020 for getting out of the house and doing like an exercise activity and not being cooped up all the time and still being away from people for the most part. There was a lot of people who were riding their bikes in 2020 and 2021 in particular. And of course, I can't really say anything because I haven't been out the last few years really all that much. Really only a handful of times between the 2 years. But from what I've seen, it's been a lot less busy out on the trail than it was a couple of years ago. We were all looking for something to do. I don't know, I guess that's kind of one of those things as time goes by. I keep picking up new interesting hobbies. I've got a new one. I made I don't think I talked about this yet. I decided that I wanted a Russian spindle for supported spinning, and I haven't been able to find one in person that I really liked, so I decided naturally I was going to make my own. So I carved one with whittling knives, and I've been learning whittling, and I have decided I'm going to make spoons. So there's a new hobby for you, I guess. I'm carving spoons. I'm fortunate that I have a lot of time to pick up like random hobbies or whatever, but it means that I end up with a whole bunch of hobbies that get abandoned for the new exciting things. And I think that's one reason why I'm out on my bike today, because I miss cycling. I just haven't really been doing it the last couple of years. I think I got bored of all the trails near me because I've been on them so much. And something like knitting and spinning, you just sit and you're working your hands and you can't, I don't know, there's some things you can do at the same time. I've discovered recently I can read and knit at the same time, but I certainly can't ride my bike and knit at the same time. So, maybe I'm going to be like kind of readjusting the way I spend my time lately. Maybe I'll try to slow down on the knitting a little bit and maybe take some knitting with me while I go do some other stuff that I used to enjoy doing. So, well, the mosquitoes are biting me. It would seem that I took my bug spray out of my bag for some reason. So I'm kind of being alive. So maybe it's time at this point, now that I've rested a fair amount, to put my knitting away and get back on the trail and see what happens. Just the worst. The worst. Lanternflies. Don't like them. Here's something cool that I just noticed over by where I was sitting. It looks like it's some sort of a stone structure. This is the sort of thing that you see often out here on the canal. There will just be ruins of structures from who knows how long ago, but it looks like it was something that was intentionally built. The water has been really low here. We've actually been in drought for a very long time, and so the water level here is very low for what it probably really should be, even recently when we've had more rain. But this is wild to me because this would have been underwater just recently when we had so much rain. I can't imagine what the structure would have been when they built it. Maybe like the lower foundation of like a house or something. Like it goes back quite a ways. So you can see like some of them over there. But I don't know, just kind of a cool thing that I found that I've never noticed before. So this region is kind of interesting and challenging in some ways for cycling because it's really hilly. Some places are mountainous. The mountain ranges near us are very old. They used to be much higher from what I understand, but it's kind of fascinating. I don't know anything about it, but what it means is that we have very little actually flat ground here, except for places like this that are man-made. So this is the C&O Canal. In places you can actually still see where the canal used to be. They used to use it to transfer goods, or at least it was the idea. The idea was to transfer goods from closer to the to Georgetown to up farther north at Cumberland. There was a lot of steel and such up there, I think. And the idea was to compete with the railroads, which was a bad idea. It was pretty much obsolete by the time it was made, but they did use it some. And it means that there's a pretty flat path, aside from like very slight changes in elevation, that goes all the way across from Cumberland to Georgetown in DC. So this is great for cycling these days, is mostly what people use it for. There's a section that is part of the Appalachian Trail, so when you're on that bit, you'll often see hikers this time of year that are usually heading up north, I believe, towards Maine, I think. So it's kind of a fun path to be on. It's really forgiving because it's so flat. The only thing is it's really dirty. When it's not wet and full of puddles like right now, it's really dusty. And so you're gonna have to clean a lot of junk off your bike afterwards. But it's very flat, which is great for like right now where I'm getting back to being on the bike again. There's a section there that was part of the canal, if you can see that through the trees. And then over there is where the Potomac is, if you can see it through the trees. This is honestly what it's like on a significant chunk of the C&O Canal. They call it a green tunnel. Oh, a turtle! I saw a turtle. This is what it's like for a good section of the C&O Canal. It's green, which is nice because a lot of it's shaded, but I like when you can see the river. I found another turtle. There you go. Now you can see a turtle. You're welcome. Everything is so dirty. Man, I forgot how much I enjoyed just getting down here and being out. It's been such a long time since I've been out. I am so glad that I finally got to be out here to enjoy nature and just pedal a bit, push myself a little bit, and also do a little bit of knitting while I was out. That was really nice too. If you're at all interested in the C&O Canal, I found a while ago a cool video back from the early 1900s showing what it was like for a canal boat to go all the way from Cumberland to DC. So I'm gonna link for that also, in case that's something you would be interested in, because it's really cool. All right, I made it to Brunswick, which is where I parked. Here's the official canal parking, but that's not usually where I park. And here comes the train. Ooh, that's pretty dirty. But like, better than it was if I didn't have fenders, I can tell you that. So like, my water bottle isn't covered in grit. That's really what I care about. Look at that. Not too bad. The chain ring though, I mean, oh well, I'll just wash it anyway.